reassert its hegemony. And you mentioned Japan. A key question is how will Japan react to this? An even more important question is how will the United States react to it?
And what can you contribute to that idea, that question, how the United States will react to it?
Well, historically, we have always opposed the domination of either Europe or East Asia by any single power. And in this century, we have fought 2 world wars and 1 Cold War in order to prevent any single power dominating those parts of the world. And the big question is, are we ready to confront China?
Well, Richard Bernstein, who gave you a good review in the New York Times, essentially has a book coming out along with Mr. Monroe, in which he says the title is The Coming War with China.
Well, I don't think it's necessarily coming, but I think it's going to pose a major problem for the United States.
There is also the assertiveness that you take note of, I think, I mean, I may be reading your book wrong, of Islamic civilization in its
Islamic
own area.
Peoples, yes.
Islamic peoples, whether both in the Middle East and, and in the Aegean area.
Yes, right.
And is that likely to lead to a conflict in which the United States cannot stay out of?
Well, I don't think it's likely to lead to any major conflict. One of the distinctive characteristics of Islam as a civilization today is that there is no single dominant core Islamic state. Islam is very divided. Muslims are fighting themselves. They also are fighting most of their neighbors off and on. And
well, doesn't that erode your theory?
What?
That there's conflict within the Islamic community?
No,
and that there is
it's a refinement to my theory, because if you look at the political evolution of civilizations, and scores of scholars have done this, and they've come up with a model which suggests that civilizations evolve through phases, warring states phases, times of troubles, and then a universal state for the civilization emerges, and this process may be repeated. And Islam had something like a dominant universal state with the Ottoman Empire, which disappeared, and it is now in a warring states phase.
Yes. Everybody says this is a provocative book. I mean, and everybody, whether they agree with everything, always say it's an important contribution to make people think about the way the world is reshaping itself.
Hope so,
Well, they do. I mean, you know that is better than I do. I mean, from Kissinger and other people who think about these issues a lot, and people at the Council on Foreign Relations, and a lot of other people in academic environments. They all, many of them, because the thesis is so large, suggest that there are places in which you had to move, you had to make a very tight squeeze to make facts fit your theory. They will say, for example, that there are a number of countries of, let's say, within the Islamic world, which have nothing in common.
Oh, well, sure. I mean,
and you can't make an argument that they...
Well, first of all, Islam, as I said, is very divided.
Right.
And there are sub-civilizations within Islam, Arabic, Malay, Turkic, etc. And there is a competition going on for leadership in Islam. And this is one of the destabilizing forces at work today. You mentioned earlier that Iran and Saudi Arabia were furnishing arms and support to the Bosnian Muslims. They were competing with each other doing that because they're trying to assert themselves as leaders of Islam. And those 2 countries, Iran and Saudi Arabia, have furnished support to many other Muslim groups fighting non-Muslims.
You also say it's United States should not get involved in the question of human rights as a part of its trade policy with respect to China. There seems to be the United States ought to keep, I'm using layman's language, keep its nose out of other nations' business.
Well, I believe that the United States should do what it can to promote our values of human rights and democracy. I think we have to recognize that there are great resistances, obstacles to doing this in many parts of the world, both cultural obstacles and economic obstacles. During the past 20 years, close to 40 countries in the world have shifted from some form of authoritarian rule to some form of democratic rule. Most of those countries are countries which have either Western culture or have been heavily influenced by the West. Now, I am not arguing that a country has to be Western to be democratic. India and Japan are two notable examples. That's not the case. All I'm saying is that in some non-Western cultures, and Islam and Confucian culture are the usual examples, there's great resistance to accepting Western values of human rights and democracy because these countries come from totally different cultural traditions.
Are you saying to all Americans and all Western Europeans, wake up, your time is over? The influence of the West is only going to decline in the future.
I think the influence of the West has been declining for some while now during the current century, and it will continue to decline because other nations are modernizing and developing and are acquiring economic wealth and power, and after that will come military power and political influence. And this is, of course, as I said, most notable with respect to East Asian societies. If I may, there was this a wonderful meeting last year of the heads of government from Western Europe and from East Asia in Bangkok,
right,
in which Prime Minister Mahathir of Malaysia got up and told Kohl and Chirac and Major and their colleagues, and I quote him now, European values are European values, Asian values are universal values. That was turning the tables on the West, which loves to think of its values
as universal.
As universal, yes.
It's a provocative and interesting book. Samuel Huntington of Harvard University, The Clash of Civilizations and the Remaking of World Order. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
This is a book people are talking about, The Clash of Civilizations and the Remaking of World Order. Samuel P. Huntington from Harvard University. We'll be right back. John Cleese is here and also Lauren Bacall. Stay with us.